Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The COVID-19 pandemic will be overcome through the practical employment of knowledge and may also usher in democratized and better connected world. This is the view of Milpark Business School Dean Dr Cobus Oosthuizen. Dr. Cobus, good evening to you and thank you so much for joining us. I mean, in addition to the statement that I've read that you've sent out, is you've also, gone as far as saying this may even be the fourth industrial revolution that we've been speaking about. Tell us a bit about that.
Good evening, Lindy. Good evening, viewers, and thank you so much for having me. My view is just, we've been talking about the fourth industrial revolution now for a couple of years with reference to the technological advancement, etc. And we've, slowly but surely become accustomed to this new type of world that we're ushering in slowly but surely. However, my sense is that with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is as if mankind has now received a shove or a push, so to speak, and it's kind of putting an impetus on what we regard as this fourth industrial revolution. If we just consider that, many people have thought of embracing or adopting particular technologies, and if I can just talk about the way that we work, many companies to an extent have been using flexible working hours and so forth, but now we're all being forced, in a way, if I can use the word forced, to work from home, and we have to really become creative and to deploy our employees from home and empower them to carry on with the work. Furthermore, if I just look at education, many educational institutions were still experimenting to an extent with it and not fully embracing the online learning platforms and so forth. But now, how do they say, when things become a necessity, they had to deploy technologies very, very quickly and move students online.
Sure. So, Dr. Cobus, one of the other things that have been raised is South Africa even ready for the type of reliance that we have on technology, especially right now? You speak about education, and we're seeing e-learning being one of the measures that government has put in place. However, there's questions around whether all 9 provinces can even, be able to access the e-learning that government has been rolling out.
Yeah. Lindy, regrettably, there are, in my view, there's those that could quickly flip, so to speak, and I mean, the way that I'm now communicating with you, I've got the facilities to do that, but there are, unfortunately, many of our citizens, or our fellow citizens, that do not have the accessibility to this. That's why my argument is also, and I'm drawing on the words of a colleague from Tanzania that says the longest distance in the universe is the distance between our heads and our hearts. We've got the knowledge to do a lot of things, but when the heart is not involved and it cannot translate into the hands to then turn into action. So the fundamental question is, how do we democratize this fourth industrial revolution to be to the benefit of all our citizens? How do we draw everybody in? It is of no help at all if there's just a certain portion of it that can move forward while there's a very large majority that's remaining behind. So this is the time to really, get shoulder to shoulder, hook in, and find the ways. If I can use the expression of the knowledge that's there, and to turn it into practical wisdom, so to speak, that we involve our hearts in the decision making, in the judgments that we make, because otherwise, it is unfortunate that so many people do not have access to the thing that's made available.
Sure. And how many opportunities and what sort of opportunities then have been opened up by, the lockdown? You see churches having to rely on online services, meetings that have to be held and people are wearing their pajamas. So what sort of opportunities have now opened up?
Yes. So again, while many of these technologies were at some point still experimented with and people were aware of them and so forth, but now we're embracing them, and whether it's Zoom or Skype or Microsoft Teams, I mean the meetings that's taking place across the globe by means of video technology like we are also utilizing now, enables people to kind of the social distance that we must now keep, but to still remain in contact, to still communicate, to still pursue objectives and goals collectively. But then again, I'm getting back to the point where we have to be very cognizant of the disadvantaged communities and how are we going to draw them into this the use of these technologies and so forth.
And what sort of lessons then would be learned, especially for government, considering that they're faced with all of those questions now? How do we ensure that kids in the most remote areas of South Africa have access to, their learning materials? How do we ensure that access to information, especially information that lands online, is able to be accessed by all South Africans?
Yeah, Lindy, now I perhaps my view is, and it's, if I may say, perhaps like Martin Luther King said, that I have a dream. But, people tongue-in-cheek have referred to the Wi-Fi being another addition to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But my sense is that, and perhaps I'm oversimplifying it, that Wi-Fi connection should become a fundamental human right. Now, I know, a lot has been done to endeavor to force data costs and so forth down. But I believe that if, to create a future in which everyone will prosper and benefit from, that we really need to find ways to make, if I can use the Wi-Fi or the connectivity then, the access to this accessible to remote areas. The exact how, the practicality thereof is obviously complex, and I don't have the answers. I can't, bullet 10 points to say this, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But at least we need to engage in dialogue and really dig deep into our humaneness. Because if we want to make progress, we must do it as a collective and not as only a small portion of the bigger whole. So my dream would then be to make Wi-Fi accessible to every person in this country, no matter where they live and work and so forth. So yeah, that is perhaps living in a fantasy world, but I believe that is something that could be aspired to.
Sure. Cobus, your advice to South Africans this evening, I mean, you've got people who are facing retrenchments, post the lockdown and post the fight against COVID-19. You've got people whose income have been affected because of this, the measures that have been implemented. What's your advice to them and how they can fully take advantage of the technological advancements that exist?
Indeed, thank you for that very loaded question. When one reflects on the state of affairs and one's heart goes out to everybody that's affected in one way or the other, and especially the fear that people live with and the panic of losing jobs, of losing income and so forth. And to say that mindset is everything is perhaps again it's a statement that, but what does it mean? But first and foremost, in a state of calm, in a state of reflection and having an understanding that there is meaning in my life. I'm thinking of Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, and he wrote that in the most difficult circumstances one can even contemplate and fathom. But
sure.
My sense is that if we get our thinking, our resilience, to say that tomorrow is beautiful, and living with that hope that tomorrow will be beautiful. And again, I'm just these words, but as an individual, the place where I will have to start is with myself, and my mindset needs to be such, because when I'm in a state of panic, I cannot, the creative juices cannot flow. My appeal would be that people shouldn't isolate, but we are isolated, but I mean physically, but to reach out and utilizing the technology. The social platforms are a buzz, but unfortunately there's also a lot of fake things out there. There's also, and we said, it feels like all we hear is bad news, bad news, bad news.
Sure.
But, to have the things that I'm still alive now. All I have is now. I know of no experts of the future. I know of only experts of the past. We don't know exactly how this will unfold. But in my individual corner of the world is to really endeavor to determine what is it that I have that I can work with. What is it that I can utilize?
Yeah.
And using technology, the internet, what is there that I can use with my skills and my abilities, what I have at the moment, and that striving to make tomorrow a better day.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that. That's Dr. Cobus Oosthuizen. He's the Dean of Milpark Business School, speaking to us about how technology is helping humanity during the pandemic. Well, let's take a look at this now. The South African Revenue